Hi, welcome to our channel.
I hit dead on with it, though. Actually, perfect. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a second look at the Springfield Armory Hellcat. First off, this thing is clear, so I got magazines on the table. They're both unloaded and there's nothing in the chamber. You've already read the description, so you know what this video is going to kind of be about. It's going to be two things. It's going to be discussing the obvious problem that I had, which was a broken striker, and then just kind of an update since that problem and going forward. So we'll just start off with the obvious. After my last video, if you saw that, this gun belongs to a friend of mine, and as of the last video, we had approximately right at 500 rounds through this gun, and it had been perfectly reliable up to that point. After I did that video, he of course took his gun back, and we were just going to put some more rounds through it as time went on, and then possibly come back and do an update. He was getting ready to possibly put this into kind of his carry rotation. He does currently carry a Sig P365, and he actually did carry it for one day. I think he went out to dinner or something like that, and he went ahead and started to carry this. And I believe that night he was just doing some dry fire practice, just doing some typical stuff, which I think dry fire is a smart idea, especially with your carry gun. I mean, I dry fire all the time. And sometimes I set up, in my house when that's all I can do, and I just do, dry fire. But anyway, he was doing some dry fire, and he had the gun just like this, no magazine in it, and he was just simply doing some basic trigger control and just working the trigger. And when he dry fired it, he noticed something fell out of the bottom of the mag well. And I will roll in some pictures right here of exactly what fell out. So as you can see, that was a piece of the striker. I'm going to go ahead and take this thing apart while I'm talking. And from what I can tell, it is the part of the striker that the trigger bar connects to. So this piece, it's going to be this piece right here. Let's see here. You see that part that's moving? And that part engages into this piece. Kind of a notch under there. And this is the piece that's just sheared off, if you can tell in the pictures. You also saw in the second picture there, it was a picture of this area of the gun, and you'll notice that this piece was gone. So that is the piece that it sheared off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this striker real quick and show you a little bit more close up of this particular piece. All right, got it took apart, and I got the end plate here. I'm going to slide the striker out. So here is the striker. And it's pretty obvious that's the piece that had sheared off. It sheared off pretty much flush right there at the end of my finger. There's the other side. Obviously, he has already sent this back to Springfield and had it repaired. He got in contact with them, got it shipped back to them. Took them 2 weeks. They didn't really say much. They just simply said replace striker. And we got it back, and here it is. So this is the new striker that they replaced. I did think it was a little odd. Well, before I tell you that, I will say, since we got this thing back from Springfield, we have now put an additional 1,000 rounds to it. So I know there's guys out there with higher round counts than that, more than likely. But we put 500 rounds through it. Striker broke. Got it back from Springfield. We've now put another 1,000. So this gun, in general, has 1,500 rounds through it. But this striker, since the replacement and the breakage, now has 1,500 rounds. But anyway, one thing I did notice today was, you can see, I'm trying to keep it in focus for you. You can see right there at the end of my finger, there's kind of a little shiny wear mark, which is, I'm not going to say concerning, but it's a little unusual since that is exactly where it broke. You can see it right there. And from what I can tell, that's just where it simply rubs both sides right here of this, out of focus, aren't I? Both sides of this channel. So the striker goes in like that, and it kind of rubs both sides of the channel. But I don't know. That's where it sheared off, so that's a little worrisome to me. But time will tell, and we'll see how that goes going forward. But like I said, we got 1,000 rounds since the striker broke, and it's been 100% reliable. Before that and after, it was reliable in every other way. You know, no failures to feed, no failures to eject, etc., etc. This thing worked perfectly fine. But it is a little concerning. He had just actually carried this thing the night before for the first time out to dinner, and the next day the striker breaks. So if you take concealed carry seriously, which you shouldn't be carrying a gun if you don't, that's a little scary in some ways. Just sample set of one here. You know, draw your own opinions, do your own research. I haven't seen any other problems with these. I hope there's not any other problems with these. I think it's a very good option for a lot of people. But you know, that's a little bit scary in a way. But just draw your own opinions of that. So that's pretty much got the striker issue covered. Now I'm going to kind of move on from that and just tell you a little bit about how my opinions of this gun have changed slightly, and some opinions of some other shooters and things like that. Alright, well, as far as I'm concerned, I mentioned in the original video that I did prefer the Sig 365. This is my 365 here, over the Hellcat. And surprise, surprise, I still do. But I will admit, it's a much closer race now between these two than it was for me. I still prefer the Sig, but I have a lot of time behind this 365 and others. And that's just my personal preference. The Hellcat, it's a little bit more snappy. It's a lot more snappy, but there's still a lot of things about this gun I like. One thing though, I will say, everybody that I have personally had experience with shooting one of these, their instant feedback has been that it has more recoil. And it's just, the video doesn't really show it up. It's just, you feel it in the hand more. And I know, you know, okay, you know, toughen up and all that, and I understand that, but it's just, there's just something about it that just gives you a little more recoil, even more than the Glock 43. Of course, this one is stippled. This is my, you know, crappy looking stipple job. But, you know, the 365 I think kicks less than both of these, and I think the 43 kicks less than the Hellcat. So you just feel it more with the Hellcat. With that said, though, it is a little bit closer of a race between this and the 365 for me at this point. The owner of this gun also carries a 365. You'll see his 365 in the video. He has the Coyote Tan version. And when we were doing the comparison, a lot of you asked for a more side-by-side comparison of these guns shooting. The Glock 43 and the 365 compared to the Hellcat. And we tried to do that. And we used his 365 just because it was the Coyote Tan model, so it would contrast a little more. And we also did it because mine does have a TLR6, which is going to help reduce the recoil a little because it's got a little more weight up front. So I don't know if that video will help you, but just check it out. I've got a lot of video footage at the end, some good, some not go good. A lot of side-by-side shooting, and you know, kind of draw your opinions. But for him, it has pretty much become a wash. He said he pretty much is torn between this and the 365. Like he's partial to the 365 because he's shot it a lot more. Excuse me. His has been really reliable, 100% reliable, as it should, just like mine. And, you know, he's a little scared of this one because of the situation with it. I mean, he did carry this gun, and it broke. And that's a little scary in a lot of ways. So, but he will admit, as far as putting that aside and just shooting it and running it, he's some more of a wash for him. And guys, just to be honest, if you're trying to decide between this, maybe the Glock 43, the 365, any of them, don't get so tied up in the fact of picking the right one. You're already on to some good guns if you're looking at those. It's going to come down to training. Way, way more than it is gun selection. You could pick any of these. You could pick a Ruger LC9, you know, a Taurus G2C for that matter. Oh, yeah. You know, CZ, Glock. It's going to come down to training. Get a gun, get what you're comfortable carrying with, and train with it. Any of these, you could be far more proficient with this 43 than you ever will be with this Hellcat if you train and get the rounds and learn and get proficient with the 43. So it's going to come down to that more than anything else. So don't get so wrapped up in picking the right one. Get the one that you like, prove that it's reliable, and train with it. Moving on for that, just kind of recapping, My opinion of this, it's a little bit closer than it was, but the Hellcat is still a little behind the Sig, my opinion. Owner of this gun, it's kind of a wash. Of course, he's still carrying the 365, and the Hellcat's here, and I think he's going to continue to carry the 365 at least until this hits 1,500 rounds, and then he might start doing a little bit more training work with it and possibly start carrying it, he said. As for my wife, she extremely strongly, that's all I know how to say it, did not like this gun. And that's kind of odd, because what's nice about her is she's a pretty good shooter, especially for a female. I think she shoots more than the average. She shoots better than the average. And she doesn't have a dog in the fight. Like, she could care less about brands, about models. She's just going to go with what she likes. And she carries a 43. That's the gun she carries on her person. And then she also carries a 43X in her purse, which she purse carries a lot, which is not ideal. But she has to because of her job and some other things. So that's her two guns that she carries 100% of the time, 43X and or the 43. And she likes the 365. She just hasn't really made that transition because she's already used to those. She's got them. She's got mags for them. So, hey, it ain't broke. Don't fix it. But she didn't like this gun. As far as I can remember, I cannot ever remember a time that I ever put a 9mm in her hands of any kind that she just straight up said that she disliked. And this is one of them. So, take that for what you will. The snappiness showed up really bad with her. She has pretty good recoil control for a smaller frame female, but this thing was really snappy for her. She didn't like the trigger. She didn't hate the reset, but she didn't really like the reset. She didn't think the slide serrations were aggressive enough, which is something I mentioned in the original video. I do think they are better than a 43, which she carries, but I do not think the slide serrations are as good as a 365. She didn't care for those, and you'll see it in the video. She didn't like it. I mean, she just didn't like it. But take that as it is. But I guess that's pretty much. One more thing I will mention, this is not really a big deal, but we had a bunch of reloads that we were just shooting up through this gun. The bullets were not sized correctly. There were some a friend of mine had done, and we were just trying to get rid of them. And we were occasionally having rounds that would hang in the chamber. Now, that is not a fault of the gun. Every gun that we were shooting, those rounds were malfunctioning with, and I mean every gun. Glocks, does not matter. It was a reloader issue. But so a lot of them, you couldn't extract them by hand. Like, you could not force the slide back. So we were having to put this ledge, which is what it is intended for, on a kind of an edge or something to get enough friction to rack it. And, I mean, some of those rounds were stuck pretty good. I mean, we were racking this on the edge of a 4x4 post. And, I mean, it was chewing that post up. I mean, we had wood stuck all in this sight. So, the cocking ledge on this gun works. I definitely can attest to that, because we were having to get pretty rough with this thing. And it seemed to hold up. But I think that's pretty much it, guys. I just try to give honest information as I see it with what I have. And I have one of these guns to give you information about, and that's all I can do. And, in a nutshell, I do think this is a quality gun. I do think it's a great gun and a good option. I still prefer the 365. My wife still carries the 43, and like I said, she did not like this gun. So take that information and do what you will with it. One more thing, kind of off topic, but if you're looking for a way to carry a extra magazine concealed, I recommend you guys go check out ReloadWrap. I've got a video on this thing. I've been carrying one since June, and they're good to go in my book. I really like them. I don't think you hear enough about them, and it's a really good company. They make these mag carriers that go inside your pocket. This is one that's set up for a Glock 17 magazine. I actually carry this as a backup for my 19. And these things are just basically infinitely adjustable. I'm going to pull my 365 mag back, because that's what I am carrying right now. This 365 is straight out of my waistband, and yes, it's been hot the whole time. So there's one for a 365 mag. But these things are really awesome, and they're good to go in my book. If you're like me and you like to carry a spare magazine, as I always do, carrying one in the pocket with one of these things it's awesome. And I do have a coupon code, so if you go over there and you're interested in buying one of those, you can use code Nate's Gun Talk 15. So that's N8S Gun Talk 15, and that'll get you 15% off your order. But I think that wraps it up, guys. Don't murder me in the comments. I know some people are going to say I told you so about this gun, and some people are going to be mad because they have one. But I'm just reporting back the information that I got, as honestly as I can. And, you know, that's all true stuff here. So let me know what you think. Any questions or anything, drop them below. And thanks for watching. Check out the shooting footage at the end. We'll see you next time. In case you were counting, that was 15 rounds out of the 13+1 mag. Hellcat. Glock 43. All right, whenever you're ready. What do you think about that?
No.
Don't like it?
No.
Why don't you like it?
Because it's too snappy, the trigger stinks. It's
Snappier than a 43?
Mm-hmm.
Snappier than a 365?
Mm-hmm. Springfield Hellcat. Glock 43.